Hey, welcome to the Financial Modeling World Cup, the semifinals and finals. We're going to have a great day today.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Welcome, everybody. It's anyone who watched the preliminary rounds yesterday. I think you're going to see the best of the best from those rounds. Those people competing today on some even tougher challenges. I'll take the chance now to introduce my co-host for the day, Bill Gellan, who I'm sure many of you are aware of. Bill is a host of MrExcel.com, has been a Microsoft MVP for 15 years, the author of about 64 Excel books, I think now, Bill.
That's right.
And just on a note, I'll say for people of my generation who sort of started their careers before YouTube and Excel videos were a thing, we owe a big debt to Bill's books for helping us self-learn deeper parts of Excel in those early stages of our career. So you're very, very welcome, and we're all pleased to see you here today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for that introduction, Dan. And I want to introduce my co-host, Dan Mayo. I first met Dan back in 2012 when I was a judge for Model Off, and Dan, I think, was one of the finalists, or you finished second in that competition. And then, very smart, you joined the question design team. And as you are watching today and you see some of these questions, you're like, wow, this is completely evil. That is Dan Mayo that created those mind-bending things. Dan joins us from Melbourne, Australia. He's a chartered financial modeler, and he also has some interesting hobbies. Of course, using Excel recreationally to solve problems and simulate models and mathematics. But I also, watching Dan, he shows up at these large poker tournaments and has had some success on the World Poker League. So
I have. It's one of the things I've missed most about the pandemic era is the lack of live poker opportunities going around in Australia. That's yeah, thank you. And lastly, we have with us today Andrew Grigolwinovich. Apologies if I butchered that, Andrew. As any of you watching yesterday would know, Andrew is the chairman of the Financial Modeling World Cup, the head of AG Capital, one of the sponsors of the event, and has also been the brains behind many of the cases that you've seen yesterday and some of what you'll see today. And so I think Andrew, more than anyone, and his team, have had the biggest influence on putting today's event together. And so thank you very, very much for that. We're all very pleased about it. And
Thank you for a great introduction, Dan. That's really a lot of work by the team behind this project. So it's really a great effort, and there will be very interesting cases. And we have Dan today as one of the hosts, because actually you, dear players, will have most of the cases for today were prepared by Dan. So you will see his, style of his questions. You will recognize that. So you're going to enjoy these questions. That's for sure. Okay.
All right. Let's take a look at today's agenda. All right.
Yeah, so we'll start with there'll be two semi-finals, and they'll be run separate to each other. So it won't be like
the screen. So there we are. Okay.
I should be back now.
Sorry,
okay.
I'm back.
Okay, so we'll get most of us back here. So I believe Dan will join us in
I'm here. Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had a technical difficulty. There I am. I'm back. I apologize for that. One thing about Melbourne, the internet isn't always the best.
Okay, our director of this event shows me thumbs up, so it seems that we're back. live, and it's okay. We were supposed to move to the next part of the game by now, so Bill.
Yes, I want to thank our sponsors today, Microsoft, the creator of Excel, the people that are just awesome about giving us all these great new features, especially if you have a Microsoft 365 subscription. So thanks to Microsoft for their support. I'm sure the Excel team enjoys seeing us have so much fun using their product in this competition.
Yeah, and I'm also grateful to the team at AJ Capital, who are actually putting most of their efforts, both to the team who is involved directly in this project and also to the team who's working on the client projects, on financial consulting and financial modeling projects, to be able to, you know, finance the challenge, finance the all the work behind this this event. So,
well. So what's happened in the rounds up till now? Do we have the brackets?
We do, and so this was the 16-person bracket from yesterday. You're seeing a great variety of scores there, but keep in mind, although 1,000 points were available in each case, every case was different, with the exception of the quarterfinals where two pairs did each of the two cases, and so. What, you know, a 50 versus 40 score, for example, with Samir and Dara in one, is a completely different question to the, you know, 740 versus 640 score between Gabriella and Anoop. And so there was a range of difficulty in the cases yesterday. But I think what we did see from that is that it was challenging. It was probably a bit more challenging than Andrew and I expected. But it gave everyone an equal chance to demonstrate what they could do and an equal chance to score the points to win. And we had some really close, dramatic matches in a few of them. Gabriella and Anoop was a standout one. And then we had some just crushing performances. Diarmuid in his quarterfinal, first max score and doing it with plenty of time to spare, sort of blew us all away. And so, if he keeps that form up, he'll be tough to beat. But you can see what the people who made it through yesterday, Diarmuid, Lianna, Willem, and Gabriella, are all here with us today for some more fun and games.
All right, yeah. So game one, here we go. All right. So how about a quick introduction to game one?
Yeah, well, I think we're introducing the participants first and then the game. Is that right? So, yeah, first participant is Willem Gerritsen. Willem is someone I've actually known for a number of years. I first met him through the Model Off competition, where he was a finalist in 2014, I think, for the first time, and has been a recurring finalist a few more times since. Willem was stuck with you as someone who, unlike most of the other finalists at the time, did not work in a traditional financial modeling role, but was still very, very competent in Excel and was very, very skilled at using Excel in the types of tasks that we see with us today in sort of those non-traditional areas, those more recreational areas. He's got a wonderful capacity for clear thinking and problem solving. And so I think he should enjoy today and he should do quite well today. And against Willem, we have
Gabriella.
Bill.
Gabriella joins us from PWC in Poland. So this is kind of the European half of the finals. Gabriella has 9 years of experience with Excel. Did a great job yesterday. 22nd in Europe ranking. So this will be quite the match.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that these rankings might be a little bit deflated for her because she missed a couple of stages. So it basically means that her strength is much higher than the rankings suggest. And that was proven yesterday by Gabriella beating the second seed in the tournament, Anup Agarwal from India. And by the way, if there is one match you'd like to see from the previous round, go to see exactly Gabriella's and Amp's game. That was a fantastic performance by both players. It was extremely exciting to see. That was a come from behind victory at the very last seconds of the game. So a lot of thrill there. Really top recommendations there. And congratulations on this win, Gabriella.
Willem, any thoughts on today?
I'm super excited to be here in this semi-final. I'm pretty nervous, I must say. I'm really looking forward to solving the problems you're throwing at us. And yeah, and I wanna. Can I take this opportunity?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Because my father turned 75 today, and we were all supposed to have a family dinner at around 6. That's the Dutch time for dinner, but because of this competition, he has decided to postpone it a little bit until after semi-final or final. So congratulations, Dad, and let's see. Follow the stream, and you'll know at what time I'll make my appearance.
Well, happy birthday to Willem's father.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect gift would be dedicating this win to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabriella, what are your thoughts on today?
Yeah, now if I don't let Willem win, then I will be the bad one that ruined birthday of his father.
No, you should beat him so that way he can get to dinner. There's two ways to look at it.
Okay. Yeah,
right.
okay,
There's a positive other way to look at it. So.
Right.
Yeah, I hope the today match will be also the most interesting and emotional one from all of the matches.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Should we look at the first case?
We shall. So the first case, I'll just make this one step bigger, is based on the game of Connect 4. Hopefully everyone has played this in their youth at some point. Essentially, this is a 4 in a row. Players take turns, red and yellow are the two players, and dropping a checker into one of 7 columns. Your checker will land in the next available row in the column, starting at the bottom. And the goal is to make 4 in a row, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, before your opponent does. This lends itself quite well as a programming exercise or an Excel modeling exercise. The wonderful thing would be have them create a computer AI bot who played the game very strong, but that's certainly beyond the realms of what we can do in a competition like this. So the next best thing, the contestants are given recordings of games. Essentially, as I said, the only choice a player has is what column you place your checker in. And so if we give a sequence of the column numbers 1 through 7, that characterizes all the information about a game. That's what we've done here. And the competitor's task is essentially to work through starting these first 10 games, play the game, red, yellow, following that sequence of moves, and determine who won. And not only that, but at what point did they win? Which checker of the 42 moves in the sequence was the winning checker? Where was that winning checker placed? There's obviously some redundant moves at the back end of these 42 character strings because the game stops maybe at game move 20 or move 30 or whenever somebody gets 4 in a row. So that's part of the challenge, is figuring that out. Some games might be draws and go through all 42 moves as well. And then on a sort of a part B, it's more or less the same sort of thing, games 11 through 25, but rather than give them the sequence of moves, we've given them this one long sequence of 630 numbers between 1 and 7. And so that's 15 games times maximum 42 moves a game. The idea here being that they need to figure out where sequence for that game stops. So game 11, for example, might have only been 10 moves, in which case these first 10 numbers would be for game 11, and then game 12 would start at the next spot. And the person who moves first in game 12 will be the person who did not make the final move in the previous game. So this is, there's an extra challenging element in converting from this sequence of numbers, of 630 numbers, into something equivalent to this that they then might be able to try and use their same Part A solution for, or they might approach Part B quite differently and try to come up with a different way to do it. Points on offer for each of the games, and the 4 information entries for each game, totaling 1,000 points when you put it all together. And they'll have 30 minutes to work through this and
30 minutes
to solve as much as they can.
Dan, I'm disappointed you used absolutely no merged cells down in that 630.
No, I share Michael Jarman's loathing of them that he expressed yesterday. I love the center across selection, and I've used that
Very
even
good.
up here. This one might actually be merged at row 10. It is, but look, my excuse for that is I started with a template that Andrew had prepared that had a merged cell there, and I just didn't undo that one. But in terms of all the data the competitors need, I've made
no thoughts about using Roman numerals down there for the
Well, we could, but you've got the Arabic function to just convert them.
Oh, it would have been easy. That would have been too easy. Okay,
That's right.
I got you. All right.
So no need.
That's a good idea for the next case, by the way, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the question. I trust the competitors understand it. They don't have anything they need clarifying. And so now, Bill, I believe you're going to give us a countdown to get them started.
Neither one is crying. Any questions from either contestant before we get started?
It's all clear.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
All right.
We need another verb other than go, like 3, 2, 1, excel or something.
3, 2, 1, blast off or lift off.
Oh yeah.
Sitting here.
3, yeah. Or there's no function we could use that would fit into the verb. 3, 2, 1, index match. That doesn't quite work, does it?
All right. So
let's see how there's.
Gabriella's screen. We're looking.
We are looking at Gabriella's screen. And one thing, Bill, that struck me yesterday, and look, I tested a lot of these cases. Oh, there we go. I was about to say one thing that struck me was how almost everybody was working on the same worksheet tab as where the question was, which had either merged cells or hideous blue formatting or other things. And not a lot of people were just adding a new worksheet that was crisp and clear and bringing a clean version of the data over and trying to work from there. But Gabriella has started to do that, which just as I was trying to raise the point of people not doing it.
Trying to figure out how to solve the first case, which is important. Trying to figure out first where those checkers fall, right? Because if it's the first time that it fell in column 4, then it's going to row A, or if it's the second or third time, then it's going to row B. And then the really hard part is puzzling out when you have 4 in a row, because there's a lot of different ways to get 4 in a row, both horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. So detecting that is, I think, going to be, one of the hardest parts.
Finding a way to do it efficiently is the challenge. And, there's a number of elements to this question. And the first one, which Gabriella has done very adroitly with some dynamic array functions, is really getting rid of those pesky commas and getting rid of splitting the 42 numbers up from one cell into 42 cells to give you a more workable set of data. But hopefully
started out there with the matrix in the way of the column. She moved it over so that way she has the rows down here to, I assume, count F to try and figure out how many times something's been dropped in each cell. So it's a dynamic expanding array, not a dynamic array, it's an expanding array.
It is, and you can see all those numbers. She got started 0 and they're monotonically increasing. They're only ever going up, and it looks like a cumulative total of how many times each column is used. And so
it starts off to a great start. This is good.
That might help her go in the grid. And I found, when I did create this question, and the idea is germinated in my head for a number of years for a question like this. And so I built a solution to something very similar to this years and years ago. And what I actually found myself when I was redoing it in the last couple of weeks was I took a different approach, but in the sense, my point here is there's two, well, I'm sure there's many more than two approaches, but there were two approaches that came to my mind. And the first one that I did years ago was trying to get a picture of the board after each of the 42 moves. And so I would draw a picture of the board after move 1. And then, Bill, I'd run some formulas or an algorithm like you described to say, does a 4 in a row exist? And if it doesn't, I would then have another picture of the board after move 2, and so on and so on until just to solve one game, I would need 42 sort of 6x7 blocks, all with different stages of numbers filled in, and then 42 sets of formulas to assess for any given board, is there a winning?
Check out row 12 there. Gabriella's figured out exactly where they get to the 6th checker in each column, and I'm not sure why that's useful. I'm sure she has something in mind, but
I don't know yet. That's
where is she headed with that?
Sure, we'll find out. Maybe she's just trying different ideas and seeing what sticks.
She's trying to make a move to see which move goes to which cell and to fill them accordingly. When I was solving this case myself, actually I was using the same approach as you mentioned, Dan, like what does the board look after each move, but just moving it through the data table help.
Yep. And that would work as well.
We're 5 minutes in. Should we check out and see how Willem's doing?
Yeah, let's check out how Willem's doing. And while we're looking at that, I'll just follow up the end of my story, which is to say in the last couple of weeks doing this fresh, I actually took a different approach, and I just built the final picture of the board to say, okay, after all 42 moves, this is what the board looks like. But rather than having only, R or Y or 1 or 2 for player 1, player 2 in the squares, I actually had the number 1 through 42 corresponding to what order each piece was placed in. And that enabled me to really only do the sort of the search for does a 4 in a row exist once, and I would then say look at that finishing board, and I would say let me find all the places where a 4 in a row exists, and all of the numbers that are used in those numbers 1 through 42 being what order the piece was placed in. Where do they exist, and then that gave me the information I needed to then figure out essentially which 4 in a row was placed first. There might be in a finished board, there might be 5 or 6 different ones.
Talk through your logic of figuring out the diagonals. I mean, I can understand conceptually how to figure out if it's 4 in a row horizontally or vertically, but there's so many different ways that the diagonal can go.
There's 69 different ways you can make 4 in a row across the horizontally, the verticallys, the sort of bottom left to top right diagonals, and the bottom right to top left diagonals. There's 69 different ways in total. And
brute force
you have to check them all.
That's not going to work, is it?
Well, no, I mean, you could write a very long nested if function that kind of checks more than one for me, but no, you're looking for something that's short that you can drag down and across. And so like the horizontal ones, you could pretty easily check something that's all horizontal. You start in the top left and you write, a sum function that looks at 4 horizontal cells or a count if, across those 4 horizontal cells, and say, are they all red? Are they all yellow, or whatever it might be? And then you just drag that horizontal function down.
Guys, have a look at what's happening currently on the screen. It seems that it's only now 7 minutes into the game. It's only now that Willem, after rewriting quite some formulas, he has split the
got rid of the commas.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's fine. There's 10 steps you need to do to solve the problem. It doesn't matter so much what order you do them in, as long as you do them all. And,
I would imagine he would be starting with splitting the columns, and that's basically, and then doing the next logic. He was doing the next steps before doing this first.
Yeah, he was thinking about he probably had that idea in his head of I know I'm going to put the piece numbers for the move numbers for the game up here, and I'll start writing some formulas to use them before I actually fill in the data. But see, the trick with this question is you have to solve a lot of games. And so you can write a solution that solves game 1, but you then need a very easy and systematic way of, hopefully at the change of just a single cell, swapping over to game 2, swapping over to game 3. And all in Willem's case, what it would need to change would be that string of data up the top. And if it just replaces the game 1 data with the game 2 data, all your formulas remain intact to evaluate that, to assess that. And then you can, if you have that set up, you can either use a data table to extract all your final answers at once, or you could just do a quick, manual looping,
Because
select
when
game 1.
When you get to the second section, for game 11, you don't know where the game's going to end. You actually have to figure out where that game ends before you can plug in the numbers for game 12.
It does. That's exactly right. You need to solve game 11 before you can get the sequence of moves for game 12.
Well, a data table would get me the first 10 very easily. After that, I think I'm going to have to be plugging in the numbers 11, 12, 13, 14. I actually learned something new about how Excel worked in solving this. I think, Bill, I did share this with you a couple of days ago around data tables. And look, I used the data table approach, and I used the data table approach for part B as well, for games 11 through 25. The trick being that I added essentially an extra number, an extra bit of information to the cover sheet that had the moves that sort of was just a key for an index formula that just said at what element of my 630 pieces do I want that game to start, and it was a running number that just increased with each game, and that enabled my formulas that extracted the pieces for a game to use that bit of information, get the pieces for the game, run the algorithm, find the winner, move on to the next game. Okay. But what I found when I put that in a data table was that the data table at first only gave me the correct answer for game 11, and it gave me false answers for the rest. But then if I hit F9, I would see games 12 through 25 updated in my data table, and game 12 would be correct. So then you had to
press F9. And I would hit F9 again, and games 13 would update. So I didn't know that was the way the data table wanted to behave. And with iterations, but that's how it worked. And after 15 presses of F9, it got the answer. So
all right, let's see. What is Willem doing here? So we have 3 blocks of data, numbered 1, 2, and 3 in column X, I think that is. And then 5R, 3 yellow is at 5M, out to the left in Y and Z. And so I think he's trying to get the logic of filling this in.
Like move by both, he's gonna have like 42 tables like that.
Oh my gosh.
It might be. I think he might be doing it that way, because I see on his first table he's got only one non-zero piece. He's got the one R.
Yeah, the R.
Not made easy by the fact his letters are left justified and his numbers are right justified. But and then you're right. He's got a second table with 2 pieces, a third table with 3 pieces.
Okay, but now that third table seems to be there's several that are filled in there.
There are.
Oh no!
I think he's just,
okay, all right, yeah.
He's toying with the formula.
Okay, let's
go back to Gabriella.
Let's see how Gabriella's doing.
Well, her looks pretty actually. She's got the board set up with the colors.
So
it's to answer an earlier question you asked about how do you check for diagonals. Where you can't just use a count if over a contiguous range of 4 cells or something like that. I actually just used basically like and or functions, so like you would look for or open bracket, and are these 4 cells all red, or are these 4 cells all red, so just a combination like that.
I mean, look at this. This is gorgeous with the board. The board's drawn in, but you can't tell who was first. Which one, like I see several winners, but you don't know whether A4 was the winner or
that's right. You need to know which one. Yeah, like that the board she's got there right now. If we assume the white circles are player 2, there's like I can spot 3, 4, 5, 6 occurrences of white having 4 in a row, and red had 2 occurrences of 4 in a row, and which one is first? You need to know that, and so. understanding the order each piece was placed in is an important part to the question.
That's exactly what she's currently building. Have a look at cell 812. That she's having the ticker for the maximum number of moves, and like as long as numbers in column 8 exceed this move, everything else gets to 0. So basically, what she's going to be doing is checking one by one that the cell gets the table gets filled, and checking for the combinations. So that's there are 4 in a row.
Although right now those combinations are just the horizontals, right? Because in column L she has the BRR, she has those codes, and I can see you can look for 4 R's or 4 B's, but that's not going to help at all with the diags.
Well, and this raises a point, Bill, about the strategy of the competition. If you get to a point where you think, I know in my head how to do it, but I can't code it in the time allowed, maybe you do. You try something with just the horizontals, and the answers you put in for each game are like, what was the first horizontal winner? Now that is very likely to get you some of the games correct, and you're going to do better than trying for a fully general solution that you don't finish in time.
Good point, because you're down to 16 minutes left at this point.
Yeah.
Although I see that she's working on the diags over in column S, right? She has some sort of so she's looking for the verticals up in rows 4 and 5. Looking for the horizontals over in P and Q, and then somehow. And
I think that's a sensible way to do it. And broadly, that's what I had in mind for solving this. You would, like, if you can find all of the horizontal winners, and if you have a way of assessing which horizontal winner was first, well, then just do the same separately with the vertical winners, and the same separately again with the diagonal winners, and then you've got what was the
diag step there.
What was the first vertical, what was the first diagonal winner, and then just run one more test to say what was the first of the 3 of them.
There's a lot of diags, and the diags have to go both ways, both top.
There are 24 diagonal ways off memory, I think, 12 in each direction.
Yeah.
And they're the hardest, they're the longest ones to write formulas for, because they're not contiguous.
So I think the big question here is whether Gabriella can get this done in the 14 minutes that we have left. Certainly the horizontal and vertical seems like it's working, right? And that's good. But then how will she be able to take this first game, once the first game is working, and generalize it? Is it a model that the data table will work?
Well, there would be some games that you could ignore diagonals and get the correct results for.
Sure,
so,
right.
Yeah. This case, sure. And the data for the games, I'll let you in on a little secret. It was actually randomly generated. There was not calibration done to look at. Start with some easy games that don't involve diagonals, or have an even mix of games that were horizontal, vertical, and diagonal winners.
Hey, I changed my strategy.
But,
I changed my strategy. I'm going for all draws. I'm just going to go straight to the answer sheet and throw in draws, because ran between is not as good of a player as any of us are, and you're going to end up with a lot more draws, I bet, just randomly. That would be my desperation move. With 30 seconds left to go, I'm choosing draws everywhere.
Well, I'll tell you something else. I'll tell you this, Bill. Randomly selecting the 42 moves leads to very few draws. I have to actually run many random generations until I could get some draws. Really? It even got to the point where I think I took out the Connect 4 app on my phone. I played some games against the AI on the phone that ended up as draws, and recorded the move sequence of the game and put those in for 1 or 2 games just to get some draws in the data set, because random generated games were not leading to draws. It's interesting.
Meanwhile, have a look at what she's doing. Currently, it seems that there is a table that kind of says that the number 22, move 22, brings the win to the
I think you're right, Andrew.
Beautiful. Excellent. And then a match. That match can be used in the data table.
So yeah, she looks like she's using a data table across the 42 moves to sort of assess, okay, after X pieces are placed, what's the status of the game? And she's running that across
this
142 for X.
This looks really strong. This looks really strong, at least for the first 10.
Can we cross back to Will and see how he's doing?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you're still taking that approach of 42 blocks of 6x7 cells. Where's he got to with it though? And I will be interested to see when we get down to the final 5 minutes, and depending on where everyone's at with their solutions, what they start doing with filling their answers in, because this is a question where you've got 4 columns of answers, but the first column there's only 3 options per game. The third column there's only 7 options per game. The fourth column there's only 6 options per game. And so perhaps some guessing or some manual assessments is feasible to use here. But we will see what they do. I can understand from their point of view though, you've got your heart set on finishing the idea in your head and converting it to formulas. You don't want to give that up, and you don't want to stop.
Sure.
And
yeah, that's right.
spend
Yeah.
a few
Go big
minutes
or go
on
home, right?
Different approach. Yeah, exactly right. Go big or go home.
At this point, it looks like that William is actually further from submitting his first answers than Gabriella. From what I saw in Gabriella's table before we switched over here, that she was able to start providing some answers to the questions, and seems that William is still trying to get the first game being scored. So let's see. He has all the numbers more or less correctly there to see whether he has all the 4s or no. But let's see how he makes it. And another addition here, have a look at the APMs. It's 223 for Willem. I would imagine that longer times that we give for modeling and more complex problems probably allow to increase the modeling speed. And basically we have we see higher APM, so it's constantly about 200 for Willem, and it's 223 the maximum. And if you saw, I've just noticed, like for Gabriella, I think the highest was 289 or something. So she's just smashing the keyboard there.
Yeah, it's some furious typing and mouse movement. It's a mix between, I think, actions in your head which aren't captured here, where you're thinking through, how do I want to solve this? How's it going to work? And then executing that with the keystrokes. And I think there's certainly a risk if you try putting in your formulas too fast, you get the syntax wrong, and you got to go back and correct things versus being a bit more deliberate.
Willem's using the new dynamic array, the filter function, and I noticed that because he had a calc error. Calc is a new error type that shows up when you have a filter that returns nothing. That was the
calc is still the new error type.
It told me, hey, look up in the formula bar. He's making use of the filter function there.
I've used the dynamic array functions a lot more in sort of my recreational uses of Excel, things like this, than I have in my professional financial models that I build. I've had much less call for the dynamic arrays in those, and so consequently, particularly the filter one is one that I'm still haven't got fully comfortable with how to use it, because I just use it so infrequently, and there's a lot of arguments to use it correctly. So I'm still learning that one to use it well.
All right, so we're all the way down to block number 29. I assume he has 42 blocks of boards.
I think he does, yes.
Yeah. And then it's an issue of trying to detect whether or not we have a winner.
Mm-hmm. By the way, meanwhile, Gabriella has detected the first winner. She has 40 points scored.
Let's go look at Gabriella.
Let's go back to Gabriella's screen and see how quickly she can generalize this to the other games, because it looks like she has game 1 correct.
Yeah. I do recognize these answers. These are the ones that we had kind of beta tested over here before the game. Yeah, so it's
so just as a reminder for each game. We need
who won. This is going to go quickly now, because she's setting up the top row of a data table back there on that other sheet.
So she's taken a general answer there to extract it, the piece moves. Whether she uses a data table approach or whether she just does a quick, 10 versions of update this number, copy paste the answers, update this number, copy paste the answers. That is, with only 10 games, that's an achievable way to do it in the time allowed as well.
Yeah, that's probably that's an easier way to do. I would imagine.
Yeah, especially if she used the data table as part of her one-game solution. I think Excel can be a bit unpredictable and picky when you try to have a data table depending upon a data table. It doesn't always like that. So maybe her manual cut and paste approach for each game is the way to go.
All right, now refresh me on the rules. Are we allowed VBA? Can we throw a little VBA loop in there?
Of course, absolutely. If someone wants to write a quick script to cycle through it,
and then copy the answers back to the right spot. See,
yeah, and Willis is just for the first points. By the way, guys, he's managed to do it.
Wow.
He has, but see, Willem's got 60, and each game is worth 40. 60 is not a multiple of 40, suggesting
let's go see
he's got a game where he's got some points, but not all points. Which is interesting. That suggests his solution's incomplete somewhere.
Let's switch over to Willem and see what's going on there.
And hopefully, now that they're on the board, I would have faith in both of these competitors to hopefully get full marks for games 1 to 10 within the 6 minutes remaining.
And then Dan, what's the score there? Is that 400 points if you have the first 10?
It would be 400 points if they got all of games 1 to 10 correct.
Amazingly, guys, what I see from I do have access to William's answer tab, and it seems that he's correct in answering, let's say, the winner and the number of pieces dropped, but he has not been able yet to produce.
Okay, he hasn't been able to identify the location of the piece. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure he was working on that. I'm sure he's working on that.
So
it is fascinating to. You get 5 competent modelers this question, and you'll get 5 completely different approaches for how to solve it. I think it's quite fascinating.
Amazingly, there are some errors for Gabriella currently. She's trying to.
No, she's incorrect values in the answer sheet, has she?
Oh. Yeah.
So maybe that's something. Maybe she like the diagonals. Maybe she gave up on the diagonals.
Might be working for horizontal because now she's working down in row 6.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe it's something else.
There was no option for a draw. Actually, that's the reason. She's going to. Yeah.
I think off memory, only one of the games was a draw. I think, but.
Apparently, it seemed that it was game number 5. Let me just.
Yeah. Right.
No. Let's.
I thought it was game 9 off memory, but I don't hold to that.
And of course, the contestants can't hear us right now. Otherwise, they would
that's right.
The answer sheet and type that in.
So even our sharing of strategies is for the benefit of you, the listening audience.
Right. Yeah.
They can see the live scores if they tear their focus away from the web,
200.
But they cannot hear us.
So each row that Gabriella gets is another 40 then, correct? So she has 5 rows.
Each game, if her solution's correct, it will be another 40. It's also worth saying to the viewing audience, Gabriella's answer section that you just saw, those orange cells that look mostly blank, what they're actually getting scored on is a sort of a duplicate block of those orange cells in an Excel Online file that's linked to the live scoring. So it may be the case, particularly if she's taking this copy and paste approach, that she's pasting it directly into the Excel Online sort of scoring sheet and not spending the 5 seconds.
And here is the magic of Excel. This Excel Online tab links directly to our scoreboard down below the screen. So, this is not some engineering or some software. It's Excel. So you can do really miracles in Excel, guys.
Absolutely, yeah. And everyone's sharing that, right? Or that's that shared workbook there that's getting us that score. Her Excel Online is something that you're linking to, correct?
Right.
Yeah. All right.
So basically, we're just giving access to the files that are on our servers, and they're able to.
It's like Willem has put maybe a non-numeric value into his Excel Online score or something.
Yeah.
Because that happened briefly for Gabriella previously as well. And so that's not a number that's so large it can't be displayed.
5 hash marks are also the number format we get when we get a number.
Willem actually just went backwards. He just went from 60 to 30.
did.
I think he has deleted some of his answers.
He just got a call from his father. Hey, dinner's ready.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 minutes to go. This
is exciting.
Gabrielle's definitely working on part B, suggesting she's satisfied with her answers for games 1 to 10, even though she has less than the full points for games 1 to 10. So that's interesting.
Right. So yeah, that's right. It must be that she gave up on the diagonals, which in this case is a great strategy. 230 to 30.
We can ask her in 90 seconds. But I think Willems needs to pull a rabbit out if he's going to get back into this game.
Okay, so I actually think that Gabrielle has abandoned the games 11 and beyond and is now trying to fill in the diagonals. Trying to figure out some way to get the rest of those 400, the other 170 points there.
And actually, I would say game 11 could be actually scored the same as games 1 to 10 because it's very easy to just grab the first 42 cells from that part B block and treat it as a regular game.
At some point here, with 40 seconds left to go, I'm going back to the answer key and I'm just typing yellow, right? All the way down.
Well, that's it. If you stick a red or a yellow in all of the first column, you're going to get roughly half of them correct.
That's 120 points. 120 points right there, which would either put it away for Gabriella or put Will.
Yeah, it would make a difference. But even the second columns, you in the third and fourth columns, you're guessing 1 in 6, so you should be able to get an expected value of around 80 points guessing those.
I feel like I'm yelling at my TV and they can't hear me. Why aren't they doing what we say?
I know. Well, just got another 40, got another game out.
10 seconds left
He might be just quickly. I think Willem's just manually. He's got something that works, but he has to manually plug it in one game at a time.
Oh, there it is.
And there we are done.
And just copied all the reds over there. That's exactly the strategy that you have advised. Yeah.
So, that was exciting. That was edge of your seat.
Gabriella, let's start with you, please.
Gabriella, you won.
You won. Congratulations.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It looks like you're having trouble with the diagonals. The diagonals were the problem, weren't they, for you?
Yeah. There were a lot of diagonals, and I gave up with it. Then, at first I thought that there are only 4 diagonals, but then I discovered that there must be more.
So you were able to get all of the horizontals and verticals correct, is that right?
Yeah.
And then at one point you actually started on game 11. And it looks like you abandoned that and went back to the diagonals.
No, I started game 11, but then I did not know how to go to automatically to game 12 and 13 and so on to know where is this cutoff when game 11 stopped and when is game 12's beginning.
Yeah. Willem, you had a completely different strategy, building the 42 boards, what it looks like after every move. How did that work out for you?
You could have seen it. It didn't work out so well. It was the only thing I could think of, actually, in a financial modeling competition where this tic-tac-toe game, and then it was only 9 boards, so it was relatively easy to do. But I couldn't find another way to do those, especially those diagonals.
Right.
And I must have made a modeling mistake somewhere, and it cost me only in the final minute I changed all the R's to reds and all the Y's to yellows. So that at least got me 100 points. But no, congrats, Gabriella. You did really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the final.
Willem, I think you were doing great too, and it looked like at the end there, in the last minute, you were getting an extra 40 points every sort of 10, 15 seconds. So it looked like you had something that worked for a single game, and you maybe just had a bit of you had to copy and paste each new game and each answer in, which sort of made me about to think if there was probably 90 more seconds in the challenge, you might have got full marks for games 1 to 10 and caught up, but just ran out of time. But it was got very close there at the end.
Yeah. Thanks for the kind words, but that's why I'm gonna do this at my own pace tomorrow. I think. Let's see if I can make a nicer solution than the
There's a
not
lot
so
of ways
nice
to solve
solution you've
this
been looking
one,
at.
and I have no doubt, given the free time and lack of competition pressure, you'll come up with a few clever ideas and think, why didn't I do it that way?
And that's a great point, Andrew. All of these cases will be available on your website for people can purchase these and try it out themselves. If you're sitting there saying, "Oh, I know how to solve this."
Absolutely, and most of the cases from today will be available for free. So basically, this particular case, the dance masterpiece, one of the masterpieces,
will be available for free. Yes.
Sure.
We'll be having a
I don't know, Andrew, are the answers going to be published with the cases, or do we leave people to their own devices to assess if they got it correct?
We do have the answers there. So basically, there are two, like in the files that are provided for the public. Basically, you'll get the table, the case, and the same very similar another tab with the answers provided.
Yeah, and to clarify to everyone listening, that's the values of the answers. It's not a work solution. You're still tasked yourself with coming up with that work solution. So,
at this point, Gabriella, I think you have a huge advantage because you have a nice 30-minute downtime to prep yourself for the finals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do finals now because I'm so tired.
Let's take a look at the brackets.
Yeah. So there we go. So the score of 240 to 100 was the official final score at the close of the 30 minutes. Gabriella advances as our first finalist. So a massive congratulations to her, and a big thank you to Willem for competing and getting this far. And now he can go and enjoy his father's 75th birthday party.
Right. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now game two. Let's.
Encouraged and welcome to try, and
I'm
sure there'll be platforms where you can share that with everyone else. So our competitors for semi-final 2, we have Diarmuid early first up. Now Diarmuid is again a Diarmuid's someone I've known for about 8 years now. I first met Diarmuid through Model Off as well. He was a finalist in the 2013 competition, and almost every year since, in one way or another. Diarmuid is a phenomenal modeler, as anyone who's been watching the regular rounds of the Financial Modeling World Cup will see. He came a very competitive second place last season and is currently leading this season. He did a tremendous effort yesterday in the prelim rounds. So what more do we say about Diarmuid? A little bit like Willem, actually. Diarmuid never really classified himself as a financial modeler. He's certainly a very accomplished Excel modeler, but the bread and butter traditions of project finance modeling and someone who works in your modeling consultancy firms, the skills they use each day around debt and depreciation and stuff like that was not Diarmuid's forte. Fortunately, that's not always needed for competitions such as this. He's a skilled mathematician, and that way of thinking comes through in helping him very clearly get to the crux of how to solve problems like this in Excel. And so we're very pleased to have him here today. And Bill, who will be trying to dethrone Diarmuid.
All right, that is Lianna Gerrish from the USA. I love that Lianna is a VBA and Excel developer. I got my start as a VBA developer, and I don't want to give anything away, but as I looked at this next case, my first reaction was VBA, right? So
I could agree with that. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Lianna attacks this. 20 years of experience with Excel and founder at RateMyExcel.com, 8th in North America rankings. All right, let's say hello to both of them.
Now by Diarmuid and Lianna. Welcome both. How are you feeling? Diarmuid, how are you feeling today?
I'm always like stressed and wound up before these things. It's just par for the course at this point.
You should be used to it by now. And Lianna, what about you?
I'm feeling pretty good. Just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent.
Diarmuid, I was interested yesterday. You said that you had worked the cases before yours, like just for fun or warm up, or did you try case number 1 here today?
Yeah, I haven't tried the poker one yet. I've tried all the others from yesterday. Just
Okay.
Get
All right.
in the mindset, see what's going on.
Yeah.
So you didn't spend the last 30 minutes doing the Connect 4 case in the background?
I did, in fact, yes.
Oh, why didn't you feel punished?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so now you're equally stressed. All right. Let's take a look at
the case. And Andrew's going to talk us through this case.
Yeah. So the case is called Where is Wally? And that's basically a word maze, a very large word maze actually. It contains 20 columns and 1,000 rows, not merged, by the way. So that's a big advantage for the players over here. So you can navigate the table quite well. And there are several words, a total of I don't remember. I think it's a total of something like 25 or 30 or 40, and they appear in this maze with an increasing levels of complexity. So level 1 words, all of these who you see here, level 1. So FMWC, you score 10 points. Microsoft, you score 10 points. Excel, you score another 10 points. And all these words are located over here, only looking left to right. So an example here, Wally, level 1, 0 points, because that's a sample, and the answer is B13. It means that the word Wally starts at cell B13. So here is a trick, guys. If you insert some cells or columns, everything here will move. And the reference, the answer should be referring to the original cell address over here. So that's B13 for letter A. My suggestion, don't try to move this table anywhere or do some calculations maybe on another tab, so that the answer you provide is the first cell of the word. For level 2 words, starting from harder and crossword, you're getting more points, but they could be located both left to right or top to bottom. Well, typical crossword setup. Level 3 could be located any horizontal or vertical direction, so it could be like reading backwards from right to left or from bottom to the top, and you get 30 points for these words. Words at level 4 could be reading at any possible direction, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, like basically you have 8 different options how this word unfolds. And finally, on level 5, you get twice as many points, 80, 90, or 100, depending on these different, words. And it's a snake, basically. That's like, if you recall the times of Nokia cell phones and this nice game of Snake, then basically all these words could go like one letter to the left, another letter to the bottom, another letter to the right, and so on and so on. So it could be like moving in between the words, in the middle of the word, the direction of the word could change. And again, you have to provide the address of the first letter in each of these words. A total of 1,000 points, probably quite simple instructions. Another thing I want to add is there are a couple of question marks, and question marks are wildcards. They can replace any symbol you might need to solve this case. So, for example, in this example for Wally, you see that the first letter L is actually being replaced by a question mark. So, were the instructions clear enough?
Can you clarify on the last three, those last three, when it goes in the snake, it can only go horizontal or vertical. It cannot go diagonal for those last three different ones. Okay.
Yes, but it could go like, it could make
each letter could change direction. So it could be one letter vertical, then one letter to the right, one letter down, and so on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any questions from either of you? All right, here There we go.
No, looks like they're both ready to go.
All right, countdown. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Excellent. So let's start with Lianna's screen list and see how. What's your first thoughts, Bill? How would you tackle this?
So it's interesting. It's a very different problem from level 1 to level 2, and hugely different at level 5 because of being able to go in all directions. And so, as Dim said yesterday, go big or go home. Try and solve the most difficult one first. I attacked that initially with VBA to find the last 3, but then if you're just trying to get level 1, level 2, using concat, I would just use concat to build a list and then find to find it.
You've got a good point. Like if you can write a solution for level 5, that is obviously going to also solve levels 1, 2, and 3. It won't do the diagonals, but if you can't solve a level 5 solution within the time allotted, or you're not confident you can, maybe start smaller. And you're right, there's a big, it's a helpful hint knowing what words are level 1, i.e. horizontal, what words are level 2, i.e. Horizontal or vertical, and a very specific, left to right, or to the bottom horizontal.
Look what's happening here. Lianna got off to a great start with the concat.
Done the concat.
But she's wasting time on worrying about the wild card, and there's not enough wild cards to worry about those.
Well, that is a very good point. Now, do you know how many wild cards there are in this data?
I believe there's 3, right?
There is 3, that's right. Now, the competitors don't know that, but they could find out.
That's a great Excel trick. How do you search for a question mark? You have to put
that is exactly right. That's exactly what I was about to bring up. My first instinct in doing this, I selected the field of the letters, the 20 columns by the 100,000 rows, and I hit Control F, and then I searched for a question mark, and it didn't give me the result I wanted because it interprets the question mark as a wildcard.
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's already on the board. Some of those horizontal words. It does
searching for the wildcard. Is that what she did?
Holy smokes, but what I saw her do, she's using this. So maybe she's not aware that there's the actual find function, and she could essentially achieve what she's doing here in automatic way using the find function.
The wild cards must only be wild cards because we were trying to make it difficult, and by finding those wild cards, she was able to find the word instantly. Like the wild card is actually.
Well, no, because I don't think that's true. No, because not every word uses a wild card. I think what she did, she used that concat function to get all the possible horizontal strings, and then she just within that column or column AG in her spreadsheet, she just used Control F and then searched for the word Microsoft.
Interesting.
Which she could have done with a find function as well, and now she's started to do that. See, and she'll get the syntax for this find function right, and she'll drag it down. She's missing a $ in anchoring that to row 10, which she's putting in now, and that'll be a lot quicker for her than doing the Control F and typing in the word.
And of course, the value error means that it's not found. There will be only one that's not a value error right there.
Yeah. Now you could. Rather than, FMWC. I mean, there's a bit more you can do with the formula. You could wrap the, is number or is error or not is error around it, and then use a match function to find the non-zero, what row the non-zero value appears in. So there's a few things you can do, but sometimes, just the manual inspection is the quicker way to go. But
here she's getting the column numbers.
Yes, this was another one that you can obviously do with formulas. You could use a combination of like address or sequence formulas to get the letters B through V, but I think she just typed them manually. Sometimes that's quicker.
Although she has a mix of upper and lower case there, like J, K, and L look like they're lowercase. Will that cause a problem? No, because match will look for upper and lowercase.
It shouldn't, but the find function isn't case sensitive, whereas you can tell me, Bill, there's the equivalent of the find function that is case sensitive.
Search.
What is it?
Search and find, yeah. Right.
Search and find, and search is case sensitive and find is not.
Okay, we're 5 minutes in. We should go switch over.
Let's see how Diarmuid's doing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so he's made a copy of the data in a clean sheet. He's up to the word good luck, suggesting he might have already found FMWC, Microsoft, and Excel. Okay, so he's using the char function. Now, why has he put plus 64 there, Bill?
Oh, yeah, I did that in my solution because the letter A is 65. And so if you're getting the third column, you want to add that to 64 in order to convert it to a column letter.
That's right. So 65 up through, 90, the 26 letters from 65 on, or the capital letters?
I can never remember if 90 or 91.
Yeah, and the lowercase letters come before the 65 there. So
actually, they're further out, up to 120.
Oh, they're further out. Okay, there we go.
Weird statistics that we know, right? The ASCII code.
A very quick segue here. I once had an error in a model that I was building for a client that worked fine in my environment, worked an error in theirs. And what it came down to was they were using Excel for Mac, and the sort order for hyphens and underscores was different on Excel for Mac than it was. And it's related to what is the CHAR value of each character. And,
right. That would be.
That was a fun one to diagnose as a quick segue.
Because you're looking, it's a dash or a hyphen. It looks the same, right?
Yeah, and I look, it was set up to treat them differently. It's just the two Excel environments sorted them differently. If you tried to, use an equal, or less than, or a small or a large, or something like that.
Take a look. What do you think? What's Dim doing here with this concat? He has an if statement inside the concat there in C2.
So yeah, I think he's made a copy of the grid, and he's searching for maybe each character of good luck, and he's returning. He's got two tabs, left to right and right to left. And so he's breaking up the characters of the word into individual cells, and then he's matching column by column is this, because you could find all the G's in the grid, and there's about 500 or 600 G's, but how many of those have an O to the right of them and an O to the right of that? And I think he's trying to do it that way.
For the people watching, Dim has a strategy here where he tries to get all of the points. He's shooting for 1,000 points. That go big or go home, and he won't switch over to the answer sheet until he's really there. So you might, like right now, Lianna's ahead 40 to Niel.
That's close. I think that could be correct. I still think he's approaching it task by task. Like the tab names he's got suggesting here's an algorithm to do the left to right search. Here's one to do the horizontal right to left search. Pretty soon he'll add one and do the top to bottom vertical search and so on. But I think he has definitely got that maximum points in mind, and he's trying to make sure that whatever he does here is adaptable to all of the words.
You can see in the lower right-hand corner, Dim's moving back and forth. That's a standing desk that he's using. He's faster with that standing desk, he says.
He also just uses a little surface with no external monitor or keyboard or mouse, and that I'm flabbergasted that he can work at the speed he does with those tools.
I mean, today we have these Excel monitors where we can see out the column, X or further.
Well, just my mechanical keyboard and gaming mouse are my go-to tools that when I would travel a lot for work, I would pack, a lot of equipment with me, including a keyboard and mouse and portable monitor, because I found it hard to be productive natively on a laptop. But
okay, so now we're working on a combo. Let's go back and see how Lianna's doing. She's getting 10 points at a time, so she has something that's working.
Yep.
Now she's working on the word smile.
She's got 50 points, so she's looks like she's got the first 5 words in level 1 out, even though she hasn't put her answers in this file. She's obviously got them in the Excel Online file.
Right.
But yeah, it does look like she's got an approach where she's manually entering
this is
target
the
word
point where I would choose AS and AT and do a data table pointing to AK10 as the column input cell, and those would all be done like that.
That's right. Or even without her typing in the words, you could just, I would give a defined name to the list of words.
Look at that.
She's done that.
That's what she's doing. Yeah, brilliant.
And then you could just
Good
swap
job.
around at the, use an index function to put in a number 1 through 20 or 1 through 30, however many words there are, just to pick out the word that you want.
Now the B13 answers there are incorrect, but it doesn't matter. Those are merged cells, so it's just the Q470, the I892, C975. Right, great way to deal with those merged cells. When I was working through this, I left the merged cells blank and then had to swear a little bit that I couldn't just copy and paste.
The grid isn't merged, so it's easy to work with the grid on sheet 1 or make a copy of the grid not merged. I did think a good useful step was to grab a copy of those words defined in column W, paste them into a new sheet. If you do that because of the merged cells, you'll get a word, then a gap, then a word, then a gap. But it's pretty easy to get rid of those gaps with just highlight them and sort them.
Which is what I did. I got rid of the gaps, but then once I have the answers, now I have to put them back in one at a time because
you can. But even if you got all the answers in, say, next to your sheet 2 version without gaps, you could write a quick index function, or something to spread them out. Converting a vertical list of 10 elements into 20 rows that took, element gap.
Nothing's working on the vertical. He just did a concat of the whole column, I think. Oh, is he concatenating the whole thing? No, he's copying the whole thing.
He is, and now he's going to use the same approach as what he just did. It's just he's got 1,000 columns there. Now his column A there, although it's very narrow, actually has a 1,000 character string.
1,000 characters each, right?
Yeah, but that's fine. The search that
becomes the
and
same
now
solution that you just did.
Exactly the same approach, and he's just got to copy it all over.
All right, Lianna's up to 100. That means that she has the first 10, which are the level 1 ones, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes, that is the first 10 level 10s. That's right. That's 100
and now
points.
She's on to the vertical.
On to the vertical.
And the vertical will be very similar to what she did for the horizontal. This is actually neck and neck right here. This is edge of your seat. I think they're actually.
I would expect them all to get levels 1, 2, and 3 within the time allowed. The diagonals are a different kettle of fish, and then the snakes at the end are a whole different ball game. But if you have an approach that works for level 1, it's not a stretch to adapt it to the other levels 2 and 3, because it's really just changing around your concatenated string to either be right to left or vertical, and then repeating all the same formulas that you used. So given it looks like they've both got the hang of level 1, I would expect we're going to see at a minimum levels 1, 2, and 3 fully scored by these two.
How does Dim start to score points? The first 10 points for him.
And which word did he score the points on, Andrew?
That was the first one, the FMWC.
FMWC. Oh, so he's starting.
He's a big fan of us, actually. So.
Now it looks like I can see Lianna's data table is calculating, but it's doing it pretty slow. I can see so it's just finished calculating, and it doesn't look like it gave her the answers that she wanted over in column AU there. So yeah, she's got some troubleshooting to do.
If she's about to complete level 2, then she's going to be counting for a total of 240 points. That's how many you can get for levels 1 and 2 combined.
Well, the other thing we haven't discussed is the question marks. Now, there's only 3 question marks, and there's only a small number of words that use the question marks, but I think there are definitely some in levels 1, 2, and 3 that use those question marks, and so will be interesting to see how they deal with those. And my approach, while we wait for Bill to join us again, is once I had the algorithm that kind of worked, if the algorithm didn't find the word in the level that it was meant to, that was my indication that that word must involve the question mark, because else presumably my algorithm would have found it. And I then just went and manually inspected the locations around each of the 3 question marks, and sort of found it manually. So coming back, Bill, welcome again. Let's discuss those question marks. We know there's 3 of them there, but how would you find how many question marks they are and where they are? Knowing that if you hit Control F after highlighting the grid searching for a question mark. Doesn't work.
Search for the tilde question mark and then find all. And down at the bottom of the find dialog box, you get a list of all of them. And then once you click find all, then you can touch each one down in the bottom of the find to get between them. I think there's a lot of points there in the last three, the 80, 90, 100. That's 270 points.
There are?
Yes.
They're tough. Yeah. They are tough.
They are tough, but what's interesting is there's only a certain number of words. Like if you're looking for the letter M or difficult, or D, you're looking for the letter D. There's only so many Ds.
There are, but it's more than 500 Ds. Andrew did a good job in randomizing the grid, and that each of the 26 letters of the alphabet are roughly equally distributed. And there's
VBA can find all of the Ds with an I next to it. It's a quick way.
It is, and you're right. There's a much, on average, 1/26th of the 500. So let's call it 20 Ds with an I next to it. But then there's 4 directions, so call it 80 Ds with an I next to it.
And actually,
it narrows it down.
By DIF, I was down to 2, and then it was easy to search them. But then the second word, the same thing with 3 letters, I was down to 20, which then would have been another level.
A VBA approach would have been great here because it would be. VBA is very good at looping through searches like that, and you could. You're right. You could go through all 20,000 characters. Is this the D? If yes, does it have an I next to it? If yes, so on. And if not, move on. You're right, that could work. But
although I think there's a faster way to do the first 3 levels. And to be honest, I level 4, I would probably adapt my level 5 VBA solution. I'm going to guess. Automatic except for data tables. All right, so turning that to automatic except for data tables makes sure that
she
the
was
spreadsheet
having
calculates faster.
some calculation hang time with her data table before. And this is, if you get to use a data table while still working, I would fully recommend to do what you just did with the change your calculation mode to semi-automatic. And then when you've got your work done, manually execute the data table.
That's beautiful. There's 5 ways to do everything in Excel. I always go to the formulas tab and then calculation and choose automatic except for data tables. Didn't realize that you could do that under file options.
Yes, or you can do it in your VBA immediate box as well with the semi.
I've just learned 2 things about Excel. How cool is that?
You could probably even put a thing on your quick access toolbar to do it, I would imagine.
You can, and
to bring up the options.
At least automatic and manual you can put up there, and when they're in your quick access toolbar, it's very obvious which one is turned on because there's a check mark next to it.
Yeah, I find muscle memory is great with the quick access toolbar, and that I don't have a lot on there, but I have the same sort of 8 commands, and whenever I put Excel on a new machine, I set up the quick access toolbar the same, just because my muscle memory knows Alt 5 does this, Alt 7 does that, and.
All right, so Lianna's working on harder right now. Harder is a vertical word, right? And
it is.
It's sent her to the location, and you can see her manually scanning to try and locate it. But it didn't look like it was there. Now we're on to WGSU. Am I seeing that right? WGSU, is that one of the words?
What was after harder? Crossword. GSU. I'm not sure.
Let's see what's inside her model. Yeah, after harder it's crossword, and it's probably something that she's solving currently. And well, actually 2 words from level 2 or 1 word was solvable through horizontal approach. Meanwhile, what I see in Diarmuid's file is that he has submitted all the answers to level 1 except for the last 2, and I wonder what's the reason for him to not be able to or not willing to submit the last 2 ones. That's amazing. What's wrong there?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Do you think we should move on and see Diarmuid's screen?
Sure, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. For those playing along at home, the question marks don't become relevant until level 2. You can solve all of the level 1 question or the level 1 words without needing to deal with the wildcard characters. a couple of the level 2 words do involve the wildcard characters, and
so
I would expect the contestants to identify that by saying, "Oh, this method I had to solve the other level 2 words didn't work here. Why not?" Should be the tip. So now, he's added the top to bottom tabs, the bottom to top tabs. Let's leave the diagonals for until after we get these ones out. But
Andrew, is it possible that they're, for those horizontal, for prepare and execute, is it possible they're found vertically earlier than horizontally? Is it possible that word is in there vertically and that it occurs before horizontal, that maybe Dim found the vertical one and that's why he has the wrong answer? Because he's trying to solve all 4 of them at once rather than just do the easy ones.
Could be the case. Could be. Yeah. Because for level 1, they're actually mixed, so it could be any direction among the allowed ones. So yeah, let's see how it goes for him.
I think that was the case. Let me.
Because he's getting a hit on top to bottom. He's getting a hit on top to bottom, which might occur earlier than right to left or left to right.
And which word is he looking at?
Harder. He's searching for the word harder, which is a clue that it's harder.
I kind of have a bit of a cheat file here for a pre-solved thing. Look, harder only appears once in one direction, and it is a top to bottom direction. It is definitely not. And prepare also only appears once. So whatever is causing Diarmuid his headache, it is not that. He's just found harder. I just saw he's got it right there selected. And so now he knows where it is on the grid. He doesn't know why his formula is not finding it for him, and so he's using it to troubleshoot the formula.
Interesting.
Because if you see there, like right there, it's got the cells for harder selected starting at I-81.
So if he can troubleshoot the formula, then he could very quickly get a bunch of them rather than just finding the answers for harder.
Absolutely. And so often it comes down to a misplaced $sign or lack of a $sign where there should be. This is going to be a close one. This could go either way. I don't know who's going to win this.
I think he's found the error. I think that's all about these $signs, and he's going to be putting all these correcting all these formulas.
Now, I just noticed something really interesting there. Diarmuid, rather than searching for harder amongst a bunch of concatenated text strings that he had swapped around, instead he had swapped around the letters of harder, and he was searching for REDRAH in the standard sort of one direction text strings. And that's clever. That never occurred to me to do it that way.
Well, we would expect nothing less.
Absolutely.
Right? Some approach that you would have not thought of.
Yeah, maybe that's just how his brain works. Finds it easier to read things backwards.
And meanwhile, more points come on the board for Lianna.
Oh boy.
No, I just wonder whether she's putting that manually or like word by word.
So she's having a few not work space and wildcard. And again, I bet wildcard has a wildcard in it.
Well, yeah, there's 7 level 2 words, and I believe 2 of them have wildcards.
I would search for wild or card.
well, that's the way. If it's a long word that you can't find, you could search for half of that word,
right?
And then see if it's near it. And
because Andrew, you would have put 2 wild cards in. That would have been cruel. What I've seen them do, I don't believe any of them have clearly identified there's only 3 question marks. And these are the locations of the question marks. Right. And we have an advantage in that we've had this for a couple of days, so we've slept on it twice now, right? That gives us a lot of time to think through this.
Yeah, absolutely. I when I did this a few days ago, I tried to give myself sort of competitive conditions to do it under, and within 30 minutes, I was able to get levels 1, 2, and 3, but no further. It took me a lot more time to get levels 4 and 5 out. And even then, I didn't have the pressure that the 2 of them are under right now, and it does change things.
So Look at the, she's searching for star CE up in AM. The word that she's searching for right now is star CE. Which,
no, it's not. It's
not 2 letters of calculate. It's.
Right. What word is it? It would be.
Oh, space. I got you. So she's trying to narrow it down to look for something that has.
Yeah, space. You're right. Now, space did involve the wildcard character.
Yeah, right. Those are the ones that are causing problems. And see, I would be searching for the wildcards, and then just manually hunting at this point.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. And the thing is, you don't know where within space is the wildcard character. And I'll tell you right now.
Here we go.
It is the letter A that has been replaced with the wildcard character in space.
The VBA is brought up. So,
flip it in reverse.
That's a long subroutine name.
There's a hip hop song, isn't it? Flip it and reverse it. If not, we should write it.
I'm surprised she took. She went for such a long subroutine name when time is so precious. Interesting that she didn't bother to write option explicit at the top of the module.
Hey, that's my kind of coding right there. You don't need option explicit. 4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go, and we're doing.
Yeah, sometimes when you're working under time pressure, a few best practice things have to be thrown out the window.
I threw that best practice out 30 years ago. I happily have no option explicit in any of my code. Which
but
I
you don't make mistakes.
Don't send me hate mails. I've gotten the hate mail. I understand.
Without variables, so we need it. You see, that's the problem.
I just wonder,
so that's interesting. She went. It looks like maybe she got another STR reverse. She's either written another subroutine or a UDF for.
Right. So she's trying to look right to left now. Right.
Yeah.
If she solved left to right, you need to solve right to left.
Native functions, swapping around the order of a string. You could do it.
There is no reverse function in Excel, right? We need one.
No, there's not a native one, but you can do it with an index function or a mid function or an offset function that sort of just looks back to front and joins them all together.
And you can do it like this in VBA, right?
Yeah, and it's a pretty common actual financial modeling task. Sometimes you'll have, the numbers 1 through 30 or whatever they are across a row in 30 columns, and you want to swap them around for use in certain formulas.
Meanwhile, guys, have a look what just happened. Diarmuid has scored.
Diarmuid got a bunch of points.
20. But
2 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah, he has one thing incorrect currently, because remember, it was 240 if you score 2 levels, level 1 and level 2 perfectly. So something's still wrong with him, with his formulas.
Well, maybe it's the wildcard characters, because 2 of the level 2 words involved wildcards.
All right, Lianna now has those words reversed, so she can do the right to left or bottom to top right now, and it's just a matter of finding them.
This is going to be a close one.
It really is. 2 minutes to go. 2-minute warning. Needs to point to AJ instead of AG. Making those changes manually. Or dragging it over, I'm not sure which. And now the find left to right.
What is
30 points. She's going for the 30-point one. Which 3 can go diagonally or no?
Well, no, 4 is 3 is still vertical or horizontal, but it could be like bottom to top or right to left.
Gotcha.
As well. So,
well, if she does a data table here, she might be able to get a few of these all at once.
It shouldn't be a big stretch from level 2 to level 3. Like you can see in columns AG, AH, AI, AJ, she's got the 4 sort of data sets or concatenated data that she needs to search all the vertical directions.
Smokes. Can she get a few more? She only needs 2 to tie of the 30 pointers.
2, yeah, if she could get 2 of the level 3s, that would tie.
Right.
Can we jump back to Diarmuid for a moment and see if he's about to get any more?
On the verge of 1,000.
At this point, Diarmuid has submitted also his answers for level 3, but it seems that most of his answers are not correct. That's
okay, and I think he might know it, and that's why he's focused on his right to left.
28 seconds.
Bullshit.
He also has one word incorrect for the level 2, and that's actually not the one with the
not the wild card.
Wild card.
Interesting.
So let's see. It's 15 seconds left. 14.
Yeah. Let's jump back to Lianna and see if she's about to score more points. You're right. We saw Diarmuid just there had answers for level 3, and it looks like he's copying those over to his
1 time,
and that's it.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
Wow!
What an ending! What a finish!
Oh,
Lianna,
Diarmuid, congratulations!
Great effort.
Lianna, you were so close to those bottom to top and right to left. She's still working on it. Hey, Lianna.
She may not know the time's over.
So, Dim, were you going for the trying to win it all? Were you trying to build every case that could go in any direction? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I started off trying to build it all, and then I realized that in the whole time before I started building, I had forgotten which way around the wildcards go in a count if. And so I thought I had like a super elegant solution that was gonna, smash the whole thing very, very quickly. Started building it, and then, 2 minutes or so in, realized that wasn't gonna work at all, and I had to do something totally different. So after that, I was not trying to win at all. I was just trying to do anything.
Ask again, Dan.
Oh, so, Diarmuid, do you know how many wildcards there actually were in the data? You know?
No, but now that you've asked the question, I fear the answer.
3.
The answer,
3.
Yeah, the answer is 3, and
it's hard to search for a wild card.
A lot of people, and so this might be where you suffer from being a bit too clever. You look at the problem and you think, I know how to solve that generally, whereas lesser modelers from you know what I mean. Other people would look at that and say, that's too hard. I'm just going to ignore the wild cards, write something simpler, and maybe that'll get me like 90% of the answers, and I'll deal with the rest later.
Lianna, you were
that
so
might
close
have been the way to go here.
Lianna, we watched you try to get the bottom to top and the right to left using the string reverse in VBA. Very elegant. It seems like you were really close there to being able to finish those off, which might have put you ahead at 30 points each. What happened there at the end? With another minute or two, would you have solved that?
I'd like to think so, but in reality, probably not.
Okay. Well, it
was a
super
wonderful effort, Lianna. Yeah, we didn't know who was going to win, even with 30 seconds to go. 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go, 1 minute to go. We had no idea who was going to win, because we could see you were both working on similar things in different ways, and you were both getting some success and some troubleshooting. And it's just whoever would have got that. Either of you could have, if you solved your last little troubleshooting problem, could have got levels 1 through 3 out in an instant. So we had no idea.
It was great, edge of the seat kind of stuff. So thanks for entertaining us while you were sweating through that. All right, Dim, we'll be back to you in just a little bit here for the finals. Break. Yeah, let's take a look at the brackets, right? Thanks, Lianna.
Thank you. So our finalists, Gabriella and Diarmuid. So the top seed and the conqueror of the second seed have made it all the way through.
Excellent.
So, Andrew, how long have we got until we're going to start the finals?
Well, we're about to start soon.
We're about to start. I'm reading the chat, and then some of the contestants are just wondering if they have a couple of minutes. That's all. So,
guys, it's all up to us. If we do some creative talking and do some,
we have to introduce the case to the audience anyway, and so I think that'll be at least 5 minutes. So,
we can promise that
if you're listening, I think you would safely have 5 minutes before you'd start.
Yeah.
Okay. What is next?
We have a little intro video.
We'll intro video. We'll discuss the case, and then we can come back to discussing the two finalists.
All right. All right.
All right. So,
Gabriella, how are you feeling?
Not yet. Not yet ready for the final. But
what did you spend the last 30 minutes doing, Gabriella?
yeah, I was just warming up a little bit, so maybe that was not the best choice. Yeah, I didn't want to like lose too much in the beginning.
Tim, you're fast to get back. Are you ready?
Yeah, we would have given you a few more minutes, but are you back and ready now?
Well, ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, I mean, we still got to explain the case, so it's still going to be a few minutes before you actually need to start. So let's come over to the case. So this was one of my creations, based around the card game of Baccarat, which is a very popular casino pastime, particularly in Asian culture. Any early James Bond fans, sort of pre-Daniel Craig era of James Bond, this was the game that was played in the elegant casinos he frequented. Essentially, what I'll do here is I'll just quickly explain the game and the rules for anyone who's not familiar with it, and then explain the task that the competitors have. So you've got 8 decks of cards that all get shuffled together. So 416 cards, 8 standard 52 card decks. And a game of Baccarat uses either 4, 5 or 6 cards, which we'll see in a moment. And will be won either by the player, banker, or a tie. And player and banker, they're just nominal names. It could just easily be called red or blue or A or B or whatever. It's all, there's no free choice once the game starts. It's all a defined set of rules that explains what's going on. They just have the labels, player and banker for A and B. And so essentially the task they've got here is take that shoe of 416 cards, deal a hand of Baccarat, which, as I said, will be 4, 5 or 6 cards. Figure out who won. Toss those cards aside. Deal the next cards from the shoe. So you don't reshuffle the shoe at any point. You just, from the top of the 416 cards, deal them. That's your hand done. Throw them away. Deal the next ones. Evaluate the hand. Throw them away. So the way the game works is, and I'm just going to quickly drag over a little online sort of demonstration of the game here. You get a card to the player, a card to the banker, a card to the player, and a card to the banker. You looking at the total, treating 10s, jacks, queens, and kings as 0 points, treating aces as 1 point, and then 2 through 9 points. And you're adding up the total of the cards, but modulo 10. So in other words, if it was like 5 plus 8 is 13, you would ignore the 10 and just look at 3. 5 plus 8 would be 3. So you're always ending up with a total between 0 and 9. And here the total is 9 versus 7. And in that case, according to the rules of the game, which we'll come back to, the player wins 9-7. And so we move on to the next hand. And another example, this one, 0 versus 0, both people are going to get another card, so 1 and then 1. This is a tie, 1 versus 1. So that's the game. The important thing for the contestants to realize is the order of who gets the cards. It will always be player, then banker, then player, then banker. And then if there's a third card, it might be to the player, it might be to the banker, it might be to both. But starting at the top, the first and third cards will be the player, the second and fourth will be the banker. So then you just, the interesting part is, well, what's the set of rules for deciding who gets a third card? And essentially what it boils down to, for anyone wondering, is if either player or banker has a total of 8 or 9 after those first 4 cards are dealt, the game's over. Higher total wins, and it's called a natural, getting an 8 or a 9. If, on the other hand, both player and banker have scores less than 8, so somewhere 0 through 7, then there may or may not be more cards. And we would start with looking at first the player. Does the player get another card? And if their total is 0 through 5, yes. If their total is 6 or 7, no. So that one's quite simple. And then the real complexity is around, does the banker get a third card? And here you've got a cross table, and it just depends on what the player's third card was, if they got one, or the case where they don't get a third card because they had 6 or 7. So that's, where you look down the column. Combine that with across here, what was the banker's total of the first 2 cards, and as we established, will be somewhere 0 through 7. And then find the intersection of those 2 cases, and you'll get a simple yes or no for does the banker get a third card. So you can probably start to think, as a modelling exercise, there's a bit of complexity in that. And then once this part, step 2, has been done, people will have their third card or not. You look at the totals and you determine who wins. Was it the player who won, the banker who won, or the tie? The task that contestants have to get through is really just deal through an entire shoe. So we've given them 4 shoes here, each 416 cards long. The symbols are all just your standard A for an ace, 2 through 9, 2 through 10 for the numbers, JQ, king for the king. That's all that's used here. And they have to, for each shoe, essentially tell us, well, how many hands were won by the player, and of those, how many were 4-card, 5-card, or 6-card hands. So that's the total of the player and banker cards together for that hand. Same for the banker, same for the tie. So any possible hand that could come up is going to fit into one of these 9 boxes. They have to deal through the shoe and figure out how many were in each of these 9 boxes. And then do the same for shoe 3. And then the last part is shoe 4, and I'll just quickly explain this. Here we're saying that rather than just deal this from the top, so 5, then king, then 7, then 8, imagine you've got the opportunity to cut the shoe. And what that means is take a number of cards off the top of it and move them to the bottom. So given the example up here, if the shoe was just, for argument's sake, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a simple 10-card example shoe, and you cut 3 cards off, the first 3, and you would move those to the back, and then the new order would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3. You can only cut directly from the top, and so you'll just take a group of cards of however many you choose from the top, move them to the bottom. And this shoe 4, for those people who have managed to get through shoes 2 and 3, we want you to look at all the possible 415 spots you could have cut this. So do you cut just 1 card off and move the 5 to the bottom? Do you cut 10 cards off and move these highlighted cells to the bottom? Look at all the 415 possibilities there and identify which number of cards do you cut that will give you the most amount of player hands won for the shoe. And then once you've identified that, tell us how many hands were won by the player and banker and tie for the shoe. So that's just a bit of a bonus for to make the question separate the really good from the really exceptional.
That's for the casino owners, because that gives them the max they could lose on a shoe.
Well,
right?
Not really. The casino owners, and this is irrelevant to the question, but the reason this table looks as awkward as it does is because that is basically what gives the casino an edge on both the player bet and the banker bet. And there's one more rule in the actual game of Baccarat that's irrelevant to this question, which is the payouts. If you bet on player, you get even money, so it's 1-to-1. If it's a tie, it's a push. You don't win, you don't lose. But if you bet on banker, and banker does win a little more frequently than player, you don't get paid 1-to-1. You either get paid 19-to-20, or you get paid 1-to-1, except if you won with a total of 6, and then you get 1-to-2. And okay. That's a quicker way to do it. So casinos do it one of those 2 things, but the idea of cutting the shoe is irrelevant. The ideal case for a casino is you've got half of your guests betting on player and half betting on banker, and it's the same amount of money bet on each, and so the casino doesn't care who wins. They're balanced.
Okay.
But the actual betting and the odds is irrelevant to the question. We're only focusing here on who won the game.
Can I ask an important question towards the end of the shoe? Let's say that there are 4 cards left in the shoe, and we deal those 4 cards, and it's a natural. Does that count?
That's a very good question, and thank you for reminding me. So I've explained it in the rules up here, but it's well worth highlighting. When we get down to 10 cards or less, we basically stop. The way this actually happens in practice in a casino is they will put a plastic cut card that's normally 14 cards from the end. And as they deal, when they eventually hit that cut card, they will finish whatever hand they're in the middle of that the cut card came up, and then they will deal 1 more, knowing that it's a maximum of 6 cards per hand. They're not running out of cards at that point, and that'll be the last hand they deal. I've simplified that a little bit here, and I've simply said, at the end of each hand, go and count how many cards are left in the shoe. And if that number is 11 or more, deal another hand. If that number is 10 or less, don't deal another hand, that's the end of the shoe.
Right.
And so, thank you for reminding me to mention that, Bill, because that is very important. So your exact case of, I've only got 4 cards left, I've started dealing, what happens? It doesn't come up because you don't deal down that deep.
How are you scoring this? Is it a correct box is worth how much?
Each correct box is the same. So it's 35 points for each of these 18 boxes. And look, these are just integers, and I've told in the clues here that the number you're looking for is generally going to be between 80 and 85. And so, you can get a sense of the ballpark of each number, and you're going to have roughly the same amount of players and bankers here, plus or minus 20%. So you got an idea of the ballpark of the number you're looking for, but each of these is the same. We've actually, for those at home, we've given them the answers for shoe number 1. So they've got the data for shoe number 1. We've pre-filled in the answers. That's worth 0 points. The reason we've done that is so that they can more quickly self-assess if their method of solving shoe number 1 gives the correct answers or not.
Right. The same method could be once they've solved shoe 2, shoe 3, shoe 3 should
it should be that's. Let's not give them too many strategy clues, but there's no difference between these other than the ordering of the 32 aces, 32 twos, 100, and 32 kings and so on. So you're right. If you get a method for one shoe, it shouldn't be too challenging to apply it to the other shoes.
All right, let's talk to our finalists and see if they have any questions for us.
Yeah, so Diarmuid and Gabriella, we want to make sure you are clear on the question, what you're being asked to do, the mechanics of how the game works. Do you have any questions?
I have one question. When you are speaking about a natural, is it only 4 and 4, or can it also be like 9 and 9 is also a natural? Because
it is 9 and 9 is a natural. So 9 and 9 would be 18, but we take all those totals modular 10. So yes, the 2 card naturals, 4 and 5, 4 and 4, 9 and 9.
I don't think that's the question. I think the question is the banker and player both have 9. So it's a natural.
No. It was my question. You answered my question. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
But if anybody has a total of 8 or 9, once you do the Mon 10 thing, then in the first 2 cards, that's a natural, the game's over. Now, you could still get a natural and lose. The player could have 8, the banker could have 9, the player loses, but the game will be over at a 4-card hand at that point. Okay. There's some other ways to get 4-card hands. It could be a total of 7 versus 7 or 7 versus 6 would be also a 4-card hand.
So the casino doesn't care who wins, but we do care. We want to have a winner or here.
We do.
So, guys, what do you think? Let us just start the game.
All right, here's the countdown. Ready?
Any more questions? No? Good to start?
I did have one small question, sorry. Spoiled the moment there.
That's okay.
I know you're usually pretty precise about these things, Dan, but just to confirm, for the bonus question, there is a
unique answer.
Cut that is okay.
There is a unique answer to the bonus question. Yes.
All right. I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. 3.
Okay.
2. 1. Begin.
It's 40 minutes. And Diarmuid, Gabriella, mute your sound if you haven't already done so, please.
So let's decide which screen shall we be looking at? Dim or Gabriella?
Let's start with Dim at this time. Now, Andrew, have you attempted this question? What was your thoughts upon starting?
The next one. Well, actually, I really hope the guys did not hear us, but I've triple checked the question earlier today. Well, Dan, congratulations, you have correct answers in that. Or I do have correct answers. So basically, solving for the first three shoes took me like 30 something minutes, and then it was just about making a data table to solve for the fourth one. So actually the bonus part is not as difficult as the scoring might suggest. That was my feeling.
No, it's the challenge in the bonus part, and interestingly, it's exactly what Dim had started with doing, is just figuring out how to reorder the shoe, how to, in a quick, efficient formula, take N cards from the top and stick them at the bottom and get the new order of the shoe. That's really the only challenge.
Yeah.
And then a way to search through them more quickly. So
have a look. He's building the link. So that's a card. Then he's building a value, making it mode 10.
Well, yeah. See, this is exactly what I think is the important first step, and he's done it. Is convert the data, which had some letters in it. It had ace, it had jack, it had queen, and it had king, and it had the number 10. Convert that into just numbers 0 through 9. So you want to convert the 10 and the JQK to zeros, and convert the ace to 1. That's a very important first step.
So the mod of J, the mod of J, comma 10
did it with a clever formula.
Is 0. That's a beautiful formula.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did it in a less efficient way than that.
However,
just accidentally hit the F1 key.
One thing here that actually I would suggest doing good, that I was doing differently. And actually, this approach, I started with doing like card by card thing, and it turned out that it's quite difficult to understand about card 5 and card 6. So instead of that, I've made each shoe horizontally, like each game horizontally, and was scoring.
Yeah.
One model, and that turned out to be a much more efficient way to do that. But let's see how Dim goes through that, because he's clearly writing some formulas. He might have problems with rows number 5 and 6, because what's going to happen there?
He will. It looks like he's trying to keep everything to 416 rows and just work his way sequentially through the deck. And at any given card, any given row in his deck, he's trying to say, am I a new hand? Am I at card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 of that given hand? What's the totals? And
right now he's
and look, that works, but you have to be very precise in your formulas to get that correct. And
basically, you have to stick, let's say, many different formulas like into one row, and basically solve whether this card belongs to the previous game or to the next game.
Absolutely,
and quite a lot of ifs there.
Yeah. What about you, Bill? What are your thoughts on how you would approach this?
Straight VBA. There's no way I could solve this without VBA. I would have literally dealt card by card and evaluated with VBA. Yeah.
Okay,
No chance that I would go any other way.
Then when you got to that, does the banker get a third card? How would you do that in VBA? Would you cross back to native worksheet formulas there, or would you?
I would literally
import that yes/no table into an array in VBA, and then
I would actually have VBA deal the 4 cards and some formulas to evaluate whether we go again for the player, go again for the banker.
Yeah, okay, and then just keep running totals of each of the 9 boxes in VBA. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So
I probably would just store those totals up in the answer cells.
Yep.
Just incrementing it depending on what happened.
I have no doubt that approach would work. Just how I guess it depends what people are most comfortable with in working the quickest in. And I think most financial modelers we feel more comfortable writing formulas with functions than we do writing VBA code.
So those arrows, those indicate a circular reference. So Dim's run into a situation there where the 5th row is looking back at the 4th row to decide whether or not that card is part of this game or the other game, and he hit a circular reference. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not.
It was a purely horizontal one, so it looks like the 5th row was looking at the 5th row, but that in turn was. It might have been just his formula he had for column E in sort of making the card number sequential. It looks like he's done something there because he's got 1 through 6, then 1 through 5.
So he knows there's 83 hands if you went to the end of the shoe. And in fact, there's probably 82 hands.
Wow, it looks like maybe he's.
Holy smokes, this is amazing.
Getting this pretty quick. If he's got the answers correct, it looks like it's going pretty quick. But we said there's 83 hands in. It's not correct because we said there's 83 hands in shoe 1. But you would stop dealing at sort of row 414 in Diarmuid's example there.
So he worked for us.
And he's only got 81 hands by that point.
We're 6 minutes in. We have 2 competitors. Let's
he's got a button there. Yeah, let's swap to Gabriella.
Yeah. Right.
So she looks like she's got a similar setup to trying to work through, just vertically. She's got the cards used, but they're going up in lots of 2. So maybe she's every row she's dealing 2 cards every row. Maybe she's doing it that way or something.
Yeah, but then she has to decide in the third rows, is she dealing
how do you do
0, 1, or 2 cards?
At that point? Yeah, that's right.
It seems that she's using the third row for every game. So basically, every game has 3 rows, and later, if there is the raw cards dealt and the row is used, if the cards are not dealt, the row is not used, but then the cards.
I mean, maybe that's an easier way to do it, Andrew, is to say, well, every game's going to take 3 rows, and it's just some of those rows will be like no card dealt.
Could be the case. Have a look at the cards used there. Yeah. And the game number over there. So, same as
she's she got different regional settings where her commas and semicolons are swapped around from what we're used to seeing. I think she does.
Look at that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually quite common in the in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No, I'm definitely aware there's a lot of parts of the world where that is the norm, and it's something. It's just another one of those things we have to be conscious of when writing.
Her APM is solid above 200 with a max of 293. So she's working very quickly.
Her APM, yeah.
Actually, that APM is still from the semi-finals. She was very fast in the semis. I would imagine that currently her APM is actually it's about 200. But have a look, it's dropping. It means that the APM at the moment, like she does some thinking, and as she thinks, then she doesn't press any button, any keystroke, and the APM drops.
I think there's nothing wrong with the APM dropping. I think a lot of time here should be spent just stopping and thinking and deciding what's the way to approach this. And look, I'll tell you in hindsight, having solved this question or modeled the solution to this question in a couple of different ways, it's much like, I guess, for any mathematicians listening, coming up with a mathematical proof. The first draft you write has a lot more pages than you need and goes down a lot more potential avenues that you're not sure will it work or not. And once you've got a solution that works, you can rewrite that. Very short, very elegant, very efficient. And this question is the same. You can actually solve this using this sort of column-based approach that they're doing with, literally 8 to 10 non-trivial formulas, in 8 to 10 columns with one formula per column that are sort of not very trivial. But coming up with that is the challenge.
With a technique that I've seen here, multiple players have used this technique, and it's something I warn people about. I've never seen anyone actually do it on purpose, where you edit the formula in F2 and then rewrite the formula. Of course, anything that the formula is referring to lights up in the boxes, like here we have the blue and the red box. And they're actually dragging the box like right there to rewrite the formula rather than typing a new formula in. And I always caution people not to let that happen.
So explain that to us, Bill. What is that doing? Because that's not a technique that I use. So
when you go into edit mode, F2, select the formula in F2, it lights up in various colors, red, blue, green, items mentioned in that formula. And if you take your mouse and grab the border and drag the red box to a new spot, it rewrites the formula to where you drop the red
so that
box.
just moves the references of that box. Okay.
Right. This is the second time I've seen it happen today.
So what's the danger in doing it? Because I can see how sometimes that might be a quicker way of...
Yeah, it is a quicker way. It's just if you don't realize that could happen, and you inadvertently move a box to the left or right.
Right.
I don't know why.
And presumably the little corner handles you could use to expand the box as well.
Expand the box, right? Yeah.
It looks like Gabriella is actually stuck over here because I believe that the key problem here is dealing the third card for each of the players. So basically, she still has to score the first game, and it's still problematic. And from the first, yeah, she also has to move on to see how many cards were dealt and what's the start of the next game. So that's a bit of modeling problems there. Yeah,
it is. This one has similarities to that Part B of the Connect 4 semi-final, if you remember, where essentially we were placing checkers all the way down through, a shoe in the Connect 4 of 600 moves, and unless you know where hand number 1 stops, you don't know where hand number 2 starts. And so you can't even here take the shortcut of say, oh, I'll write something which will solve just the 4-card hands, because you don't know where each 4-card hand begins.
You have to solve the logic for the banker third card.
Yeah, you have to sort of get hand number 1 correct, whether it is 4, 5, or 6 cards before it all works on. So.
How about you guys? Gabrielle has just created columns U and V, points up to 3 steps, and it seems that she's currently slowly moving towards putting the horizontal layout for each game. So basically, in columns U and V, she's trying to put together the number of points scored after each game, and that's what would help her to continue here. But again, the layout. A much easier layout would have been to just make a horizontal dealing of the cards for each game. So instead of 416, it should have been like 85 lines maximum.
Should she have the point after 3 steps to the 12? You would never have 10 or 12 points, right? You have to do a mod.
No, and so I'm trying to figure out what data she's using, because even looking at her cells J5, K5, it sort of says 6 points and 4 points, and comparing this, looking at the actual shoes, the shoe number 1, the first cards are 9, then 4, then 6, then 7. So after that initial deal, the player would have a 9 and 6, which is 5. The banker would have 4 and 7, which is 1. So I'm not sure where she's getting this from.
All right, interesting.
And then you are completely correct that if you're getting a total of 10 or 12, you'll get that point.
At least she's referring to the right numbers in the table. So
it is. Yep. Her columns when she correctly moved to like J's, Q's, K's to zeros and A's to 1 and so on. Yep.
You can watch Gabriella. She's just put her hand up to her face like, oh my! It was one of those. What do I do now?
This is it's a tough one. It's
and what do you think? It's been 6 minutes here watching Gabriella. Let's see how Dim is doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Gabriella also had a match function where match open bracket and then comma or semicolon, suggesting either she made a mistake or she's just looking for 0 as the lookup value and
I saw that
by not typing in 0.
I thought maybe she'd fill that in later.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. Maybe she's coming back to it later. Absolutely. I often.
Dim's screen, meanwhile, while he has scored 0 points so far, but have a look, he's already so far that he's judging the results. So player banker, he has
and he's put a filter in at row 7 as well to, I guess, help him narrow things down on manual inspection. I wasn't expecting anyone to use a filter at any point, but he's got one there.
Oh, look at that! Yeah, that's gorgeous. Now he's only seeing the final results.
Yeah, well, that's it. He only cares about maybe what the final card of each hand. He doesn't care about the rest, perhaps. Yeah.
Have a look.
Okay, quite close. But that's not quite the right answers for shoe number 1. He's got something, but it's not quite right.
Well, that's good that we provided the answers to shoe number 1, so you could cross-check and make sure your formulas are working.
Yeah, and I guess it can help him to see if he's got any parts of it right or where he's gone wrong and so forth. So it's a little bit more information than just the live score feedback, where they could submit the answers and see, did it make my score go up from 0?
But you also can compare by parts, by like how many 4-card hands are the draw. So if it's 3, then if he has all the 3, then it means that these are correct. And currently he's probably trying to look for the mistake there.
Well, yes, but again, as we said, because the errors kind of accumulate. You know, if you say if hand number 3 in the shoe was actually 6 cards, but you modeled it as 5 cards, then you got to have completely different data for all the subsequent hands. Yeah, and so it's,
that's probably what's happening here. I have a look. It has completely different answers for the draws part, and I believe that it's because some of the cards are dealt incorrectly, so he's taking more cards than needed.
Yeah, and given that he's got 81 hands where we got 83, suggests he's incorrectly giving extra cards rather than incorrectly giving less.
But he's close. I mean, he's 16 minutes in. There's plenty of time with 24 minutes left to solve this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's finding the errors in the formula, so he's going to be doing very good, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, we're watching Evaluate Formula here, where he's stepping through one step at a time. That's back on the Formulas tab. Great way for those long formulas.
You can see even on sheet 1, he's actually changed the yeses and nos in that drawing table to 1s and 0s. I just noticed as well, which is I'm all for that. It's much easier to write your formulas that are conditional on values based on numbers rather than text values. I think, where you don't need to then write open quotation mark YES close quotation mark in the middle of your formula condition.
So I was thinking, rather than flip back and forth to compare those two, it'd be nice to have a little table to show, how far off he is. And he does have a little table. See that little table of 1s and -1s. Beneath his results.
A little difference table there, starting at row 14. You're right.
Right. Yeah. So
he's just done something good. Oh my God! He scored both of them.
Okay, so he's got it right.
Gosh.
Diarmuid in 17 minutes has nailed his issues and has identified the marks for shoes 2 and 3, and we can see he's got 630 points there.
And now he's on to the bonus question, right?
Now he's onto the bonus. Now he's got
the data table right there. There's the data table.
And the data table is exactly the way to do it. If you've got the way to reorder it, and it looks like he said 37's the maximum number of wins. Is that? I guess we'll find out soon whether he's right or not.
No, that's the current number of wins. If you deal as...
You're correct. That's his live case. You're right.
He just needs to find the max. I actually think he's running out to get a hamburger right now because he's so close to being finished. Why is the screen not moving? Or did my screen lock up? I mean, all he has to do is find the max and he's done.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking. You're right. Or maybe his screen's. I can see his head moving, but I can't.
No, it's calculate. Have a look at his screen. It says calculate.
Oh, but he's got a big data on a slow way. You're right. You're completely correct, Andrew.
It's a huge.
It shouldn't take that long though, but maybe it depends on his calculation method.
It also depends on his model. His base model.
It finished.
45.
Max is 45.
Yeah.
Card 293. Does that sound right?
293 in. Yeah, and now he's going to get his answer.
There,
293.
And you can see his score's gone up. 293 is correct.
Wow.
And in about 30 seconds, he's going to finish the case in 20 minutes.
In less than 20 minutes, actually.
I warned him about.
That's another perfect score
at the time.
Wow, look at that.
Well, that's it.
That's incredible.
Look at that.
We
have a winner.
For my American friends, Dim is the Michael Jordan of Excel. This is incredible.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay, can we get Diarmuid on the phone? And
let's see how Gabrielle is doing.
Yeah, well, that's true. Let's just give a moment to.
Well, I think that Gabrielle is still struggling with the first case.
Yeah.
Well, scoring the first one, I think that we just, don't have to.
Yep, absolutely amazing. All right, let's see if we can attract their attention.
We'll probably write her, and we'll probably also give her some message. So quite soon she will be probably back with us as soon as she is able to get the.
So for the audience wondering what's happening right now, Gabriella can't hear us, and unless she's looking at the live score or she's focused on her work, she will struggle for us to tell her that the challenge is over. We have a winner. And it was the intention with this question that they would go until the first person got 1,000 points. In setting the 40 minutes, we were erring on the side of more time rather than less time, thinking that should let us find a winner. So this is Okay. Are we able to bring Diarmuid up on the screen and talk to him? Is that possible? Diarmuid, can you share your video? Do that.
Actually, we've just gone to the next screen with the 5 of us.
Yeah, let's move on to the next screen.
Can you hear us, Diarmuid?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm back on now.
All right.
But it looked like it was my screen rather than my video that was coming there.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. That was a phenomenal effort. What are your thoughts on that case?
Well, it went better than the semi-final. I mean,
1,000 points
it's
in
a
a
tricky,
little under
it's a tricky kind of
20
case
minutes.
because it's very sort of, you know, I mean, as you saw, once you get the first thing to click, it all kind of falls out from there. So it's yeah, it's a tough one to compare on that one, but yeah, it went well. Not quite as well as I hoped actually. I spent like at least 5 minutes, maybe more, debugging because something had gone wrong, but managed to find it there just at the end.
Fair enough. And Gabriella, congratulations on making the finals. How did you find that? You were up against a very, very tough competitor to beat.
Yeah. So congratulations for winning, Tim. How did I find the case? It was not. There were like too many rules. It couldn't be structured easily because if something happens, then something happens. There were a lot of like nested rules, one in another. So I couldn't structure it that well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand that. Do you think were you on the right track? Do you think you still had roughly half of the 40 minutes available? Do you feel you would have got there within the 40 minutes?
Maybe, but I wouldn't be sure that I would get there. But there was a chance to do it.
Basically, that's a tough question, but as long as you're able to score the first one, like think of the ways to score the first game, then it kind of starts to flow, and it should be quite easy to move on. So basically, it was all about scoring the first one and putting the numbers together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was. We were commenting amongst ourselves that it had similarities with that Connect 4 Part B, in that you don't know where each hand starts, and unless you've successfully evaluated the first hand, you can't even begin to do the second hand. And so taking like a partial approach of saying, oh, I'll just look at all the 4-card hands and I'll deal with the 5 and 6-card hands later, that doesn't work here. And Diarmuid, we saw that you, in some of your first attempts, you were getting an answer that wasn't quite right for shoe number 1. You were getting 81 hands in the shoe instead of 83 hands. How did you then drill down to find where your error was?
I mean, I was pretty much going cell by, like I went back and kind of read the rules again, and each bit sort of went and looked at the cell, and I was trying to do different, like I was looking at, check these 2 scores match to some of these things, and these scores match to that, and does everything add up? But yeah, nothing was working. Eventually I filtered to see, were all the naturals working right, and realized they weren't. But I had bankers sometimes getting a card when there was a natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like because there were no kind of interim questions. So like unless it was working, you were just wrong.
It was all nothing. Yeah.
And so it was, I just was just kind of trying to think of what are all the sense checks that you could apply to figure out if it's behaving like it should be.
I'm curious if either of you were familiar with the game before. Have you ever played this in a casino or watched it in a casino? Have you seen these rules before? No, so brand new to both of you.
No.
Excellent.
Drew, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, so how about just, I'm fascinated, right? This is great TV, right? I want to be able to watch this 24 hours a day, and obviously that's not going to happen. Andrew, tell us, what's the opportunity if someone wants to play? if someone wants to be a contestant in the next round, the $10,000 round, how do we become part of this?
Well, basically that's as easy as just applying to the tournament at our fmworldcup.com website. So just look for FMWC Open. So at the end of November and the beginning of December, it's going to be a massive tournament. Like everybody could become a star of Excel and take part in these televised rounds. So we will be probably starting with like last 128 players and down to the finals through several sessions, and it's going to be a massive event. So a total prize fund of $10,000 split by the I believe it was top 16 players. So like chances are to become a star and to get some part of the prize fund. So everybody's welcome. And as you saw, that some players are strong, but others might be quite beatable. It just all depends on the draw. So Bill, I'd really love to see how you might be doing there. Wouldn't envy those who are against you.
Yeah, no, I'm smart enough to never play, right? Because I've been in the room with the 16 finalists before. They have supernatural abilities. I will always be a judge. I'm happy to be a host forever. I will never be a contestant.
Okay.
But every company has their person, the guy or girl who is the person, who is the Excel, and that's how I became Mr. Excel. It was because I was the Excel go-to guy. So everyone watching this, if you are the person in your company who is the Excel person, come play against the best Excel people at all the other companies. This is great fun.
Absolutely, and as you're saying, the cases don't require industry-specific knowledge. A lot of them, it's just about clear, logical thinking. It's having a good toolbox of Excel functions and formulas at your disposal, and then it's all about getting the right layout and the right approach to solving the question.
Gabriella, we were commenting, obviously you couldn't hear us. You have this great trick where you put the cell in edit mode and then grab the colored box with the mouse to rewrite the formula, which I've never seen. I knew it was possible, but I've never seen anyone actually do that, right? So that's a great technique. Is that something you learned at PwC, or is that at your work? Does everyone do that, or is that your own invention?
I'm not sure. I'm not watching other people modeling as you were watching me today. So I'm not sure what they are doing. But it's something that I thought everybody does. I thought that it's why those boxes are highlighted so that I can move them.
That's funny. People know that the boxes are highlighted so they can figure the formula out, but most people don't know you can move them. So nice job. Nice job there. Great to watch that.
Excellent. And Diarmuid, I think I noticed you pressed the F1 key by mistake at one point and bring up your help menu, which cost you 30 seconds. Yeah, you haven't removed.
I'm working on my
Surface keyboard to remove the F1 key, is it?
I'm working on my Surface, which means that actually pressing F1 and F2 is 2 keystrokes. So yeah, that's like constantly slows me down and occasionally trips me up when I press the wrong one.
And so for those listening who aren't really aware what this is about, the F1 key brings up the help menu. It's next to the F2 key. The F2 key is pressed a lot by modelers of this caliber when working fast. The F1 key is not, because they don't need the help. They know what they're doing. But when you accidentally hit F1, it slows you down. And I'm serious about this. There are a number of professional modelers who have either physically removed the F1 key from their keyboard, or they have a VBA script that runs whenever they open Excel that basically reassigns the F1 key for the Excel application, and it reassigns it to simply do nothing. And then when they close Excel, the F1 key goes back to its normal function. And I've seen companies, where that, modeling consulting companies where the macro that does that is part of their standard toolkit that their practitioners use.
Somewhere I have a box. It was Martine's keyboard from the first model off. I was amazed. I've never seen anyone take the F1 key off the keyboard. I talked to him about why he did it, And then I went into the room with the other 15 finalists. I said, this guy is insane. He took the F1 key off his keyboard. And you all looked back at me like, what? You still have F1 on your keyboard? And he was flying back to Europe, and so he was selling the keyboard. So I kept that as a souvenir of the 6 keys. You don't need an Excel that can be removed. Crazy.
I haven't done that. I have a mechanical keyboard. It's easy to pick off the individual keycaps, but I still leave it there. I'm not as concerned about saving the 5 seconds at this stage of my work than I was when I was trying to compete at the speed these guys work at. So.
Well, this was a lot of fun. This was great. Andrew, any closing remarks? Anything else for us?
Well, guys, just congratulations. Thank you, Gabriella, for giving all of us a great performance and for giving some surprising results, beating the second seed of the tournament and promoting to the finals. And damn, that was a great performance, like 2 maximums. I imagine that, like in other games like bowling or snooker, we might have some sort of statistics like players and how many maximums during their career they have scored. So currently you're in the lead with 2 maximums.
And Diarmuid, tell us the truth. You've got a number of hours left in your day today. Are you going to go back to that Where's Wally question and solve it all to get 1,000 points before you go to sleep tonight? Just because you can't let it go? Or
I'll be kind of tempted to go and do it ignoring the wild cards and see just how much higher that would have made my score.
Right.
I'll maybe try and let it go after that.
Great.
I have to say thank you to Gabriella, because I looked at the people competing in this thing and I was like, oh man, Anoop and Willem, they're like 2 major threats, and you took like the hardest possible path to the final by knocking both of them out. So
I echo that as well. I have a familiarity with not all, but some of the competitors, including Willem and Anoop, and beating them is an excellent accomplishment. So very well done.
Thank you. I think it was, I had no expectations because I thought, okay, they're so good, I have no chance to win with them. So I was not stressed at all when in round 2 or round 1, 2 or 3. So I think that was it worked for my advantage that I had so strong.
Although now I think you're going to have a target on you for the future rounds of the Financial Modelling World Cup. Both for this season and perhaps next season. You've established yourself as a top contender now, yeah.
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 Just a simple nod to that. No words. Just yep, that's right. Read it in week. I like it.
All right, I think that's the right time for us to wrap up, and again, to say thank you to all the players, all the 16 players who were with us all the 2 days. Thank you to all the hosts, supporting and giving the comments during these 2 days. Thank you for the sponsors of the event. Thank you for Microsoft, and guys, everybody is welcome to join FMWC Open. Sign up now. The early bird discount pricing is up until next Monday, so hurry up. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody.